You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with a podcast, and who knew we were going to make another one? Thanks for tuning in, guys. To see the YouTube version, let's go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button. Also, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. You can see my new book there. There's a Goodreads giveaway you can get involved with. It's free. And you can also go to all of our groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and all that good stuff. So we're excited to announce my new book is coming out. It's called Beacons of Leadership, Inspiring Lessons of Success in Business and Innovation. It's going to be coming out on October 5th, 2021. And I'm really excited for you to get a chance to read this book. It's filled with a multitude of my insightful stories, lessons, my life, and experiences in leadership and character. I give you some of the secrets from my CEO entrepreneurial toolbox that I use to scale my business success, innovate, and build a multitude of companies. I've been a CEO for, 33, 35 years now. We talk about leadership, the importance of leadership, how to become a great leader, and how anyone can become a great leader as well. So you can pre-order the book right now wherever fine books are sold, but the best thing to do on getting a pre-order deal is to go to beaconsofleadership.com. That's beaconsofleadership.com. On there you can find several packages you can take advantage of in ordering the book. And for the same price of what you can get it from someplace else like Amazon, you can get all sorts of extra goodies that we've taken and given away. Different collectors, limited edition, custom-made numbered book plates that are going to be autographed by me. There's all sorts of other goodies that you can get when you buy the book from beaconsofleadership.com. So be sure to go there, check it out, or order the book wherever fine books are sold. So we've got a most interesting guest from Hollywood on the show with us. He is been involved with, so many different projects. He's been producer, writer, actor that he's done in his movies. He's 36 years old, and he's become recognized as one of the most innovative creators in Hollywood. Adi Shankar is with us today, and he's a global fanboy auteur, according to his PR agency. He was the executive producer of the smash hit Netflix original series, Castlevania, the writer, director, creator of upcoming Netflix original superhero series, The Guardians of Justice, and creator of upcoming Netflix series, Captain Laserhawk, in partnership with the video game industry leader Ubisoft. In addition, he is creating adaptations of iconic video games, Devil May Cry and PUBG, if you're familiar with that. Welcome to the show. How are you, Adi?
I'm good.
Awesome sauce. Okay, thanks for coming.
That was quite a bio.
No, it's quite a bio. There's much more. It's extraordinary, all the different things you did, but I figured we'd get into meeting you. My understanding, too, is you're a Kiss fan. Is that correct?
And you got that from the makeup I rock? Okay,
yeah, there's somebody who mentioned it. I don't know if it was a wiki or one of the videos that I watched an interview of you on. So is that a no?
I'm a fan of the Kiss aesthetic.
Oh, the Kiss aesthetic.
The Kiss aesthetic, yeah. It wasn't like I religiously listened to their music. Not that I have, anything against the music. Just a different.
Yeah.
I want to say different generation, but it's not like I'm consuming music of my generation anyways. I tend to listen to older 80s, fake 80s, 90s kind of music.
Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, tell Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons just forget it. Just hang up on them. So anyway, Adi, will you give us your plugs so people can find you on the interwebs, where to look you up, .coms, et cetera, et cetera?
Find me on Instagram. I think that's probably the way to go about it. It's at Bootleg Universe. So bootleg, the way one would spell bootleg, BOOTLEG, and then universe, the way one would spell universe. I'm not going to spell universe out loud because there's a good chance I will spell that incorrectly out loud, because spelling bees are not my strong suit.
Okay,
but
we're
bootleg
going to have to cancel the spelling bee part of the podcast too. Yeah, just kill that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Jeopardy spelling bee. I'd be good at Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune, I'm not very good at that. Wheel of Fortune.
Okay, we'll kill those portions of the show. We those are at the end. So you also have a big YouTube channel as well, right? Under Bootleg Universe.
I wouldn't say it's like a big YouTube channel. It's almost like more of a portfolio. So we've released a few short films. I believe it's 7 short films over the course of starting in 2012 was the first one. The short films, which are like satirical takes on brands people are familiar with, James Bond and Spider-Man and the Punisher and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Pokemon. Those have done well in terms of getting people to watch them and care. And I think that subscriber base on YouTube, it doesn't feel like a YouTube channel to the extent like where I'm like vlogging every day and letting you know what I'm eating for breakfast or whether I like Kiss or not, and how much of Kenny G's catalog I celebrate. Yeah, it's like there's a YouTube presence. Feels more like a portfolio.
There you go. Well, there's a lot of great material on it. There's a lot of interesting stuff. So for those people in the audience that may not know who you are, or maybe they've consumed some of your media, but they've never gotten a chance to get an in-depth thing of you, how would you describe yourself? Because you're like you seem like a jack of all trades, like a Renaissance man. You seem to be into everything. What would you describe yourself, or describe to people who might go, who is this gentleman?
I struggled with that question for such a long time, because even just the way you ask, right? Who are you? And then even if you start like reducing who you are into things you've made or things that you've been a part of that got recognition, I'm definitely more than a career. That's one of the things I've been processing over the last several years. I had success like at a super young age, like in my early 20s, and all of a sudden, as I was growing up, I just defined my entire reality and my sense of self by these things that were successful in the ecosystem, and that became my identity. This is a long preamble of saying Adi Shankar is a more complex, well-rounded person than a series of projects. That said, I have come to define myself as an artist.
Okay.
I'm an artist. It's not necessarily even a jack of all trades, because I'm not really a tradesman. I think part of being an artist is, or really walking the path of an artist, is gaining an understanding of the various tools that you have access to. Part of the education is a craftsmanship education, and the more tools that you gain a craftsman-like education for and with, the more you can cross-pollinate them and create something new.
That's a great answer. You segued just beautifully into that whole thing. So give us an idea of how you started in life and how you got to where you are. I believe you grew up in India. Is that correct?
Partially, yeah. I was born in India and lived there for 5 years. But again, India is a big country. It's so diverse. So even within the construct of India, before I was 5, we lived in Calcutta, where I was born, which is in the middle of India. We lived in Madras, which is the south of India, completely different culture. A different language too. When you talk to the South of America, yeah, there's a different accent and there may be customs, but everyone's still speaking English. When you go to the south of India, like that's a different language. It's Tamil. And then we moved to the north of India, Bombay, Mumbai. That's like the big city. Then we moved to Hong Kong. There was more moving. There was a stint in Singapore, and it just gets more and more complex and convoluted. I moved to America when I was 16 by myself. So like full time, I've been living in America since I was 16. And that was like a few days before 9/11. That was like 2001. Wow. Yeah.
Did you move to New York when you did? Were you in New York?
Rhode Island.
Oh, wow.
So very close. Wow.
Yeah. Very close. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting time. We just reflected on that. So do you think going through a lot of the cultural changes and exposures that you did shaped your artistry?
Absolutely. It definitely gave me gave me that outsider's perspective. But this is maybe just my experience. The world, the more I traveled as a kid, and when you're a kid, things are a little different because things aren't like stable and static. You don't really know what else is going on in the world. I didn't know that we weren't living in a virtual reality simulation. Like when I was a little kid, like I had no idea that, hey, when I leave the room, does everyone stop moving? Or like you ask, or at least I asked those questions and I wondered those things constantly. I still wonder those things. But for sure, the moving influenced my point of view. And I feel like the point of view is ultimately what's transmuted and conveyed and imprinted into the art. As an example, as just one example of this, I felt like the world was like a sci-fi dystopia. Like every time I would watch a sci-fi movie, even like an old one, like where there was like an old one like Logan's Run or something like Attica, which was, I was like, this is pretty much the world we live in. And that more, maybe I got a deeper and deeper understanding about the more I moved, because you see how societies are structured and you see how like different societies have different value systems. And those value systems promote different types of people. They subjugate other types of people. And different societies have different incentive structures. And those incentive structures manifest different modalities. That's the best way to say it. And yeah.
Would you say that moving around gave you a 3D, a top-down look at things, at these different things as you'd move around to different cultures and influences? And that's what gave you that ability to look at them from some kind of outside the box?
Absolutely. 150,000%. And also when you're doing that as a kid, right? It's not like, for my parents, it was a different experience because they were from India. They existed from India. And then they were Indian people moving. For me, I wasn't like a formed being yet. I wasn't a formed being with a sense of identity. So my identity isn't, oh, I'm an Indian dude from India now moving to Hong Kong. My identity is like someone who has moved to this place that even as I was moving there was in a state of transition because it was a British colony being handed over to China and like that. So it wasn't a linear path in terms of like self-definition.
Interesting. So when you come to America at 16, what pathway leads you to Hollywood?
I really liked professional wrestling. That's why one of the reasons I wanted to move to America. Really, there was a movie called The Wizard. I highly doubt you've heard of this movie. It's called The Wizard. If you're a millennial, it's like a classic, but it stars Fred Savage. So I saw The Wizard and I was like, I want to go wherever that movie's set. And that happened to be America. And professional wrestling. I was like, this is awesome. I want to go to a place where this exists and people like this walk around.
Did you want to be a wrestler?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go. So what dissuaded you from finally achieving your dream?
Look, I think our dreams are like in flux, right? It wasn't like the only thing that I wanted to do because I graduated college. I went to a school in the suburbs of Chicago called Northwestern, which has a fantastic theater program. I graduated like a quarter early, 2 quarters early, if I recall. And I was like, I'm going to go learn something. I'll go learn a craft, actually. It was actually supposed to be learning a craft. I didn't define it in those terms. My people around me thought I'd gone a little crazy. And I narrowed it down to 3 things. So again, I'm like 22 at the time. Mm-hmm. The first was there was a sandwich shop, like sandwiches, called Pita Pete's. And I was obsessed with these sandwiches. I went there every day. And I got to know the owner, this guy named Pete of the Pita Pete, the Pete in the Pita Pete. Pete.
There you go.
And I was like, I want to work at a sandwich shop to figure out how you make these things so awesome. That was one option. The second option was like enroll in some wrestling school. Mm-hmm. And the third was enroll in improv school. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going with the improv school because
there you go.
It was the most linear and I knew how to get there. And the sandwich dude, Pete, sat me down. He's like, look, dude, you're a smart kid. I'll explain to you in half an hour how to do this. You don't need to work here. I'm like, oh, okay. So I took Pete's, secret recipe with me and joking. I enrolled in improv school and I was hooked on improv for for
What was the
a period of
aspect you
time.
liked about it? Entertaining other people? What was it that really hooked you on improv and acting?
You know how I speak? I'm guessing you're probably going, hey, this guy's kind of eloquent. You're asking me questions and I'm answering them, and I'm not giving you like basic answers. Like, I'm going into it, right?
You're very
Like, my
interesting.
entire turn. I couldn't do that when I was 20, when I was a teenager. I didn't know how to speak to people. Part of it came from just jumping around between these different cultures. And the different cultures have different codes of conduct. They have different degrees of formality. So in a lot of social interactions, I felt frozen. And I was always in my head about it. And I didn't know how to not be in my head because it's a survival instinct. Like, you're in a new culture. In order to assimilate, you have to adopt a new state of being. It's almost like a different version of yourself to assimilate. Because the name of the game for me was assimilation. I'm a kid. I want to have friends at school. So I'm going to assimilate. It made it challenging for me to have conversations with people because in a way I was playing a character all the time and I didn't know how to not play the character. And in fact, I think that's what drew me to professional wrestling, because I saw that these people were playing these larger than life characters and I could do that. But being myself was very challenging because I didn't know what that meant. Improv helped me tremendously, like, with that, because really it gets you completely out of your head and you're being authentic. You're finding your authentic voice through just organically responding and not like reading lines from a script.
And that's amazing. It's interesting how people are shaped and how they go through stuff. That's what I love about people,
sure.
is what makes them, what gets them there. So you eventually get to Hollywood. It looks like your IMDb starts around 2010. You start working in projects. How does that entry point happen?
It's random, honestly, randomly, right? I think it's random for everybody. So there's no great story in my opinion. It just, one thing led to another, which led to another, which led to another. And it didn't feel like success at the time, a lot of the time. And then you look back and you're like, wow, it was like involved with a lot of like crazy and awesome stuff. And then the world started changing and I saw the writing on the wall and I thought everyone else did. And I pivoted into more of a digital existence, so to speak. And we did that for a bit and then hooked up with Netflix, and that led to a different pivot. And that's the career so far.
And so let's talk about some of that. There's a lot of projects you're working on right now. Let's see. You've got Guardians of the Universe, which is your latest project. Guardians, okay.
Of Justice,
They gave me Guardians of Universe. This is from Lori. So for that, my apologies.
It could be Guardians of the Universe, and in fact, that's a better title in a way.
I think she's just retitling your stuff. Your PR agency has decided that they're just going to retitle stuff. So maybe she
As they should.
Is there a Guardians of the Universe movie? Maybe she's mixed that up with. I'm just reading here. I'm sorry.
Well, there's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So I think Galaxy is bigger than Universe. It is, right?
Yeah, I don't know. She's got Guardians of the Universe is his latest project. You've also got, I watched part of your Cannes series official selection that was dealing with Netflix. Do you want to touch on a few of these different projects that you're working on?
Not really.
There's a few different things you also did, Castlevania and Judge Dredd, Super Fiend. Do you think those are some of your most favored work that you like to do, that you liked in your history of work?
Yeah. I feel like all of it.
I need you to hold these.
Dude, I feel like all of it. Look, here's the one thing that was a unifying thread for me as I was moving around the world was nerd culture. It was video games, it was comic books, it was anime, it was manga. It was that stuff, and wrestling, sure. You throw wrestling into that too because it existed. But really, it's like video games, anime, manga, comic books, that kind of stuff. So most of the projects that I do, in fact, everything you've listed, it exists within this ecosystem of. And again, there's so much competing nomenclature to how to describe it, and I don't feel like any of it does it justice. Right? Like it used to be called, it's fanboy stuff, or it's nerd stuff, or geek stuff, or which are all like very reductive terminologies to use to describe something that now dominates popular culture, right? Avengers movies are not like just for nerds or geek or whatever the term is. That is like the movie going experience at this point, just what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think in the aggregate, so when I talk about any one project, it's a different experience than when I like talk about it all in the aggregate, because it was like really for me a question of being focused on making stuff for this community that I felt like I'm a part of, that I contribute to, right? They contributed to me. Like I grew up reading comic books about robots and superheroes, and like, okay, great. So now, how do we add to that pantheon for that next generation to consume this in a different way? So this project that you just mentioned, Guardians of Justice, which you've renamed, or we've now renamed to Guardians of the Universe, which is a better title. Way better title. Just talk to Netflix right now. In fact, we should conference them in and say Guardians of the Universe. But Guardians of Justice, which is in competition at Cannes series next month, Pandora, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy that a superhero anything is in Cannes. So that's it.
Films of real life or something, dramas or something.
Yeah, dramas about people crying because they lost something. Yeah.
Actors in lots of makeup. I watched a lot of the film, and it meshes so many different things. There's some real life. There's it's like everything in there. It's not you, and I think it's more appealing because you don't just sit there and go, oh, this is that type of film, or this is the other type of film, like you were talking about earlier, where it gets crammed into a certain box. And it made it really interesting and watchable. Maybe I'm just ADD or something. I don't know.
I don't think you're ADD at all. I think you're actually a very hyper-focused individual. Just even in the way you're leading this conversation. If anything, I'm ADD. So it takes one to know one. You know what I mean? I'm like, you, my friend, are not ADD.
There was a time. I've grown out of it. When you hit 53, it all kind of, you slow down a bit.
I don't know if you grow out of ADD. It sounds like you just weren't into the stuff you were doing before.
There was a lot of psychotherapy and drugs and stuff, yeah.
What kind of drugs?
What was it, Zoloft, and I think there's a tranquilizer involved at one time. That was when I was in my 20s. Yeah. I've had my little bod. I think that I had two parents that were ADHD. And yeah, it caused some issues. They were good people.
Did they like neglect you, or did they say hurtful things?
I was probably all of the above, but at an early age, I was checking the door like 16 times a night to make sure I had locked it, that sort of thing. And anxiety attacks. But,
so there's you were like walking around.
Yeah, my brother wouldn't wash his hands till they bleed. We were just teenagers, but we went through some issues. When I started my first companies, I would go through panic attacks 2 or 3 times a day and have to sleep. It was interesting.
Oh man. Do you meditate now? No?
I do pretty well now. The arc of a life, you can learn a few things about yourself and go, stop doing that. But there's still a little bit of the madman back in there. It's just when I do interviews, I'm all about you.
There's a cool device that I was gifted like 5 years ago. You can get it on Amazon. And I'm no way affiliated with this device, rather, but it's called a mind spa, like mind, how one spells mind, M-I-N-D, and spa, the way one spells spa. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty nuts because what it does, it's a pair of sunglasses hooked up to like an old school CD player looking device. And it's sunglasses and earphones. And what it does is it synchronizes light and sound in a pattern to get you into alpha and then theta and then delta brainwaves.
Oh, wow.
And and it's, so if you have like anxiety or some sort of manifestation of anxiety, which is like a panic attack or some nervous tic, or you can't relax the mind, it all just comes with relaxing the nerves and then reprogramming that way. And it's hard to reprogram unless you have developed a base. Or you found the base. So this kind of helps you get to that homeostasis.
I took a look at that on Amazon real quick. It's pretty cool. So do you find that helps with your ADD?
For me, it just helps in general because you're just on every path. I've been on let's call it a healing journey in air quotes. I've been on a healing journey for the last like 6 years at this point. And there's been stages of it. So I wouldn't define myself as someone with ADD or something like that. There were moments though where I needed to reprogram the inputs and the outputs that had been hardwired into me as a result of like repetitive stress.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that comes out through your mind's eye and your artwork? And like when I watched the Netflix Cannes movie that they sent us, there's a lot of different things going on, very fast, very speedy, different scenes, different setups. Do you think that maybe that's a feature of your artistry?
Yeah,
influence?
I feel like if you spend time with me, there's like a lot going on. And I feel like now it's more contained, it's more under control. Like I'm navigating the car, the ship, the plane, versus before it didn't always feel that way. It felt like I was an observer in a tornado of my own doing. But it totally does manifest in the stuff that comes out, because there's so much that happens, so much. There's like a tone and a rhythm and whatnot that definitely is a byproduct of I'd say the volume of input I feel like I'm processing in any given moment. As an example, I'm actually going to flip my camera. I realize it's vertical and you're horizontal. There we go. As an example of this, Chris, I couldn't think in live action until pretty recently. And by that, if I was imagining something or remembering something, it played out as a cartoon. And like a very vibrant cartoon. So like memories felt like starburst was being poured down my eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not where you're supposed to put the starburst, but it's an interesting analogy. No. Yeah. It's supposed to go in your mouth or in your ears, I hear. I don't know. It depends. There's like an OnlyFans of it.
Just, yeah.
So this has been really amazing and interesting to get insight to you. What do you feel like as an artist? You're always chasing the project. Maybe I'm assuming that you, as an artist, you chase the most fulfilling project, or maybe what your next project is, or that big thing. Do you pursue any of that? Is there something that you feel unfulfilled that you're searching to a body of something that you want to go? This would be my shining thing. That would be the pinnacle.
I feel like I am the project. These things are just manifestations of some form of consciousness. At the end of the day, like you are the project. You are your project. Your own growth, the experiences you amass from any project or venture, poem, that's got to be the reward. I feel like accolades and stuff like that, those are all illusionary at the end of the day. As gratifying as they can be, but chasing the big win is not really, like, you don't know what a win is. And as an example of this, right? You know who the biggest celebrities were in Victorian England?
Who? Bare
knuckle boxers.
Oh, wow.
Because it was like the biggest thing ever. Like they were like the David Beckham and the Tom Brady, and it was bare knuckle boxers. And then all of a sudden, bare knuckle boxing went out of fashion. It was no longer a thing. And like today, no one remembers these great bare knuckle boxers because it's not in our as a society, right? So it's not like everything that's successful, that society deems successful in the moment, becomes remembered that way generations down the road. In fact, there is no correlation. There is no correlation. Like you could be the biggest musician of the 90s and your entire catalog is gone. Or you could be someone like John Carpenter, who's an amazing filmmaker from the 70s and 80s, also 90s. He still works today. He made such classic movies as Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, Escape from LA, The Thing. And in his time, he wasn't like celebrated. But you look at least within the film ecosystem, within the film community, how he's viewed retroactively. He's on a Scorsese, Steven level, which again was not his experience at the time. So you don't know, and so much of this is out of your control. Not even so, all of it's out of your control. right? Because society and the ecosystems around you shift value systems, consumer tastes change, what's valued changes, and then all of a sudden something that was just on the fringe is now the biggest thing ever, and the thing that was the biggest thing ever is completely forgotten.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds. And let me try and make this analogy, and I might be swinging here for the fence, but it sounds like you have a really unique perspective to your art and what you do, and your art really isn't a representation of you, as opposed to you are a representation of your art. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Or am I?
No,
is
no,
there vodka in this water?
Yeah. No. I think there's both. I think there's definitely vodka in that water.
And probably likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell my AA person.
Will not.
There you go. Don't tell my sponsor.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because a lot of people we've had on the show that are from Hollywood or they're artists, and they come out and this is my art, this is me. But it sounds like you have a really different perspective that's maybe a little more healthy, because the artist is really centered on you, and the work doesn't so much represent you as you represent the art. And I don't know. I think that's where I was trying to go with that, if it makes any sense.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah.
Look, I think all of this makes sense. That's the beauty of it, right? Because you can deconstruct it and look at it in a multitude of ways. And I think the beauty ultimately comes down to the fact that there is no one perspective.
If you could do any project, carte blanche, Netflix, Hollywood, whatever you wanted to do, what would be your dream project? Do you have a dream project, or is there a...
Dude, and again, I say this with complete humility and gratitude and everything of that ilk. I've already done my dream projects multiple times over, and then there would be another one, and then you'd start that and you do that, and it's like I'm living my dream. It's almost like if this is a giant virtual reality simulation that we're living in. I got the cartridge with the game genie in it, so pathway is just clear, and you get oh wow, I get to work with this person or work with that person. And for me, I've realized my process, which is different than someone else's process, but for my process, the dream project isn't necessarily a brand or a specific story, but it's having the creative latitude to execute it in a way that has my identity.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So as an example, I don't know, I'm going to pick a random brand. I don't know, Catwoman, right? So tomorrow someone will make a Catwoman movie. So there's the corporate version of a Catwoman movie. And then there's the kind of more avant-garde version of a Catwoman movie. And then there's the version that one would make that only they could make.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be super mainstream, and it may not be mainstream, but you don't know, because it's I don't really work well in art by committee type situations. I feel like most artists are that, so I don't think that's unique to me. But I've been fortunate enough to have creative partners and business partners who just are we keep doing it.
So it sounds like most of your projects are that way, and that's the way you like it, to where you have that creative control and you can do it your way without going,
and
is
it
this
had
going
to
to be
earned.
commercially viable?
And it had to be earned. So that wasn't go back to 2011. That was not the scenario whatsoever. Even a couple years ago, that was not the scenario immediately. But you earn it over time. You do things that are successful and you learn something from them. And really, you end up learning a lot more from the things that aren't successful, from the things that are misfires, the things that never got off the ground. And you get that hindsight of, hey, why did it not work, and what role did I play in it not working? Assuming you're not doing the blame game and blaming everyone but yourself. And then I think slowly, as you amass more and more skill sets and you learn more crafts within the macro craft of filmmaking or animation or whatever it is that you're doing, you get that latitude. Mm-hmm. You just get that latitude. And also you have the vocabulary at that point, right? You have the vocabulary because they've had the experiences, and you can very specifically and precisely enunciate to your partners or the studio or the right holder what it is that you're trying to do.
There you go. This has been pretty interesting. What haven't we touched on, Nadi, that you want to either promote or that we should get the audience to know you better?
I don't know. Follow me on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of selfies. I've been doing the whole selfie game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really digging the selfie games. I didn't think I'd be a selfie person, but I'm come around. So it's at Bootleg Universe. One word, Bootleg Universe on Instagram. You should follow me. Check out all my selfies.
There you go.
There's a lot. It's like, it goes like selfie, news story about me, selfie, video talking about something, selfie, news story about me, selfie. You know, not egomaniacal at all.
Well, the one thing I noticed in looking at your Instagram and other media was there's a lot of different genres that you encase. Like we talked about the kiss. I think you had the star face that I saw from, I think it was Ace Frehley's. Was it Paul Stanley that was the star face? There's a lot of different scenarios that you're set up in that are they're from different genres, and where you're dressed up, and I think there's some CGI or whatever you call it, photoshopping done. What motivates you in that? What are you trying to represent? What message are you trying to send to the world about you?
I don't think I am trying to send a message in that regard. If this were the 90s or the early 2000s, and media was like hyper controlled, right? I feel like people gravitated, or at least from what I saw, people gravitated towards like, okay, this is my look. I'm always going to wear this one face paint and wear this one type of leather jacket. And everyone was trying to become like Michael Jackson, iconic for the Thriller jacket and some glove or something. And man, to me, that's just exhausting. It's just exhausting. Like, I'm just trying to be myself, be authentic. Yeah. I actually have thought about it. I'm like, wow, I could literally just do an entire Instagram thing of me wearing what you call Kiss, which I call Ultimate Warrior makeup. But yeah, you could just do a whole thing of me wearing Kiss makeup and like walking out and just photo after photo of Kiss makeup. Would that get boring? I don't know. I don't feel like I exist in that energy field every day. And yeah, it's bad branding in a way. It's bad branding because brands should be focused. Brands should be focused. But I don't care. That's the other thing. I just don't care enough, you know?
It's extraordinarily interesting too. It's not boring.
What aspect of it?
It's interesting because it's different. It's not the same thing. Like you go, oh, this is completely different. Oh, wow. And you examine it, where if you just appear the same way every time, you're just like, well, it's just Batman again or whatever. Yeah. And as you look at the arc of our interview and conversation of you growing up and being subjected to so many different cultures and moving about and having that experience change, you can see that reflected in, I think, in your art, in how you do it, deliver it. And then, of course, we're doing the same thing on Instagram with your looks and different variations. You were being you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not letting people stick you in a box, and you're not sticking yourself in a box.
Yeah, for sure.
So there you go. There you go.
For sure.
That's awesome. Anything you want to touch on? Give us your .coms as we go out.
I don't have any .coms.
Just the Instagram.
Just follow me on Instagram. There's a Facebook that I use sometimes.
Yeah.
But just go follow me on Instagram.
Yeah. And check out all of your new projects. Of course, there's the Cans Netflix project. And I'll ask the PR agency what name we're naming it.
No, we've already decided. It's no longer
We've decided is this
Guardians
the
of the Universe.
Okay. All right. Well,
the Guardians. That's what we're going with. I think you're going to have to. You're the boss.
Lori.
Yeah, no, so it will the universe. I don't think it's just you. I think this is actually the universe deciding.
It's probably some sort of sign.
Yeah, it's some sort of cosmic entity that's bestowing us with ancient wisdom as to. But
who knew that email typos could be that powerful?
Exactly. Yeah, Guardians of Justice. It plays. It's going to play at Cannes next month, which I think we've already touched, and then it'll be out at Netflix at some point.
There you go.
Which I cannot say, because and then I'm a work in progress, man.
There you go. But keep it up. We'll be excited to see what comes out of you in the future. And the great work has been there. And I love your perspective on everything. I think that's one of the most engaging things that people are going to get from this interview. They're going to go, wow, this is really cool. So thank you very much for being on our show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks, Amonis, for tuning in. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss and see us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all those different places. Thanks for everyone coming by, and we'll see you guys next time. So we're excited to announce my new book is coming out. It's called Beacons of Leadership, Inspiring Lessons of Success in Business and Innovation. It's going to be coming out on October 5th, 2021. And I'm really excited for you to get a chance to read this book. It's filled with a multitude of my insightful stories, lessons, my life, and experiences in leadership and character. I give you some of the secrets from my CEO entrepreneur toolbox that I use to scale my business success, innovate, and build a multitude of companies. I've been a CEO for, 33, 35 years now. We talk about leadership, the importance of leadership, how to become a great leader, and how anyone can become a great leader as well. So you can pre-order the book right now wherever fine books are sold, but the best thing to do on getting a pre-order deal is to go to beaconsofleadership.com. That's beaconsofleadership.com. On there you can find several packages you can take advantage of in ordering the book. And for the same price of what you can get it from someplace else like Amazon, you can get all sorts of extra goodies that we've taken and given away. Different collectors, limited edition, custom made numbered book plates that are going to be autographed by me. There's all sorts of other goodies that you can get when you buy the book from beaconsofleadership.com. So be sure to go there, check it out, or order the book wherever fine books are sold.